Well then, we had our first little overtime of the day, didn't we? And I did need two boards, so this is the first of two boards. And this is why you can't take any team lightly. And this is why, with a 4+ month time off, this is going to be a really, really interesting playoffs. Now, for the teams that are going to go into the round robin, trying to figure out seeds 1 through 4, I would look at what's going on in the play-in rounds right now and say, all right, so it's kind of a crapshoot. Matt Murray in net for the Penguins. We'll see whether or not he's in net for game 2 if they decide to make a change. And the weird thing is, this game ended up being a lot more even than it probably should have been. Early near misses at both ends. The Penguins were up 9-1 in shots 4 minutes in, and it looked like they were just going to run them over. And Carey Price early in the game, he was the star. If you had anybody else in Montreal playing goal, then this game would have probably been like 2-0 Pittsburgh at that point. But Kotkaniemi scores from Kulak and Lehkonen at 11:27. That was only the third shot for the Montreal Canadiens. And yeah, because of Carey Price, they're ahead. Now you'll notice I'm wearing my Patrick Roy jersey. I picked my Montreal jerseys well. And before we got into the whole idea of how we were going to do a return to hockey, the NHLPA was very clear that they did not want Carey Price to be in a one-game take-all situation. They also didn't want to see a best 2 out of 3. And Carey Price was used as the example of why they didn't want a 2 out of 3. And there were certainly people when that news came out that said, Carey Price isn't that good. He is, though, when he's on. So, Tatar got a prime chance. Didn't get that. Price seemed to be really dialed in. Penguins get a penalty. So, Habs go to the power play at 14:46. Good penalty kill, but the Penguins are still down by 1. And their frustration level varied as the game went along. Dano then took a penalty. Dano and Drouin, I think both of them had iffy games. The interesting thing is this. Because both of them had iffy games and ended up going to the penalty box, it allowed Nick Suzuki to go out there and become kind of sort of a superstar for Montreal in this game. So, near goal for Gensel. Gensel hits the post. There were a lot of almosts, a lot of should-haves, a lot of could-haves, and they didn't. So we go to the second period with it 1-0 Montreal. Early chance for the Penguins. Crosby narrowly misses on that one. Hornqvist then almost had a break. I thought Hornqvist had a decent enough game. The Habs pressured at 4 minutes, and it felt like they could still steal this. Penguins had a 3-on-2 that was well defended. Zucker had a close-in chance, but Montreal wasn't giving it up. Carey Price wasn't giving it up. And then Nick Suzuki scores over Matt Murray's arm at 6:53. Nice goal. And again, 2-0 lead tells you there are no teams in the 24 you shouldn't take seriously. This is a very evenly rated field by the looks of day one anyways, right? This is just day one. It's hard not to overreact because it's a best of 5 series instead of a best of 7. It is very difficult to beat any given team 3 times in 4 games. But Armia almost made it 3-0 off of another turnover by the Penguins. The Penguins then pushed on a delayed penalty, and they would score on that delayed penalty. It is Sid the Kid. Crosby scores from Schultz and Gensel at 9:55. The Penguins then had a power play with this momentum seemingly swinging into their favor. Shorthanded 2-on-1, Suzuki is denied. And then on the power play, it is Rust who scores from Hornqvist and McCann at 12:34. It is a tie game. And Pittsburgh, they smell blood in the water. Marlowe buzzing for another. They were pressing for the lead. And then the Habs at the 15-minute mark, they went the other way and they were pressing for it. Because Montreal realizes, hey, we can steal one here. Penguins get a power play late. It felt like Montreal was playing with fire a bit here. And Drouin is on his second trip to the box on that one. So we go to the third period, tied at 2. Dano takes a penalty 30 seconds in because, yep, Dano does that in this game. He takes penalties. Sherratt then with a high stick, and it's a minute 33 seconds of 5-on-3. So the Penguins call a timeout. Mike Sullivan, all right, we'll figure this out. Doesn't matter. The Habs killed it off, but it felt like the Pens are taking over the game. So the Habs killed that 5-on-3, but it felt like Pittsburgh was the better team at that stage. McCann then gets a delay of game. The Habs get a power play, and that momentum starts to shift the other way. Aggressive penalty kill by the Penguins. They get another power play. That's their 6th chance, and Zucker is denied by Price. The Penguins' power play gets some chances, but Malkin was just out of sync, and Evgeny Malkin had a bad game. I'm just going to come out and say it. He had his opportunities, he had his chances, just couldn't put them in the net. He had a poor game by his standard. He will be looking to come back from this in their next game. So, shorter shifts, checking was getting tighter. Rust had a chance which just missed Malkin, and then Price did make the save when that play reached the net, as Carey Price is wont to do. Price then denied Crosby with near 5 minutes left. It's one of those situations where Pittsburgh would go to the net, the puck would be swallowed up by Price, and Penguins are left looking up like, what's going on? Why can't we get this in the net? Power play for Sherry with, that's not a power play, that's a penalty shot. So I put up power play, and then it was a penalty shot, and I didn't change it to penalty shot. Apologies. Penalty shot for Connor Sherry with 3:03 left. He didn't hit the net. Here I was thinking, all right, well, it's a penalty shot. This is going to be a goal. I even had one of these little penguin magnets here, and I'm like, all right, never mind, I'll put that back. So I put it back because Sherry missed the net, and then Tatar ended up hitting a post as well down the stretch, and it's 2-2, and we go to overtime. I looked at the board, and I said, well, it's not all going to fit on that board if we go to a nice long overtime. So I got another board out. Here you go. Overtime. Early chance for the Penguins. For Letang, back and forth action, near misses at both ends. And I was asking myself, like, how far can this go before we start to see that really slowed down play that you see in long overtime games? Danault then took a third penalty. Penguins go back to the power play. And again, Evgeny Malkin spotlighted because he's just not getting any luck. It's not going his way. Puck's not going in the net. Furious action then at the Penguins net, and they cleared it. Drouin had a breakaway, gets hooked, and that's a penalty shot. So he goes in on his penalty shot and stick handled it right off of his stick. So a chance to win the game for Drouin, and nope. So that's 2 penalty shots in the same game, and they both missed the net. Price robbed Schultz just past the 10-minute mark. Keep that in mind, because Schultz, that one was going in the net. 1923 was the last time the 2 penalty shots were in the same playoff game. So that's one of those stats that somebody mined, and good work. Play was getting scrambly at around the 13-minute mark. And then at 13:57, Jeff Petrie under Matt Murray's arm. Jeff Petrie with the goal to make it 3-2. The Montreal Canadiens are up 1-0 on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Remember last year when the Pittsburgh Penguins were going to wipe out the New York Islanders, and they didn't because the Islanders wiped them out? This feels similar to that, where Pittsburgh had its opportunities and maybe they deserved a better fate depending on how you view it, but the reality is they don't get there. They don't win the game. So Montreal gets the win. The shots were 18-6 in the first in favor of Pittsburgh. That's where Price steals the game. Second period, Montreal outshot them 13-8. In the third, Pittsburgh pushes back, not wanting to face, potentially going down 2-0. They don't even want to go down 1-0. They outshot them 8-4 in the third period. But in the overtime, Montreal, sensing they could get the steal, they outshot Pittsburgh 12-7. Final shots, 41-35 in favor of Pittsburgh. Montreal deserved this. Absolutely. Hits were 53-30 in favor of Montreal. Physical game for the Montreal Canadiens. Power plays, Montreal only had 2, went 0 for 2. Pittsburgh went 1 for 7. Carey Price saves 39 on 41 shots. And Matt Murray saves 32 on 35. Like I said, we will see if Pittsburgh decides to go in another direction in the next game. But Montreal did it. They did it. They won this game. And we saw both number 5 seeds today go down 1-0. Take Montreal and Chicago lightly at your own peril. And it'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh bounces back. Now, I believe Pittsburgh can bounce back, just like I believe Edmonton can. But I also believe both Montreal and Chicago, teams that had no pressure. Keep in mind, when I was talking about, the play-in rounds, and I gave a point to all these teams that didn't have pressure. And there were people in the comment section that said, who cares if they don't have pressure? That's not a reason to give a team a point. It is. Because with goaltending and no pressure, Montreal comes out with the victory. And I'm wondering if the amount of pressure on Pittsburgh, maybe that causes them to squeeze the stick a little bit harder. Maybe that causes them to second guess themselves a little bit. But there you go. The Montreal Canadiens, they did it. So the Patrick Roy jersey, as long as Carey Price steals games, I have no problem putting on the Patrick Roy jersey, because that's the comparison you're going to have with him, is towards Patrick Roy. And tonight, he played like Patrick Roy. He really did. So congratulations to the Habs, and we'll see what the Penguins do to bounce back in the next game. I got the third period of Winnipeg and Calgary to look at, and it doesn't look like that one's going to go to overtime, but you just never know. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys for everything. I will talk to you again soon.